Looking for a cosmic adventure like no other? Zatswan, Multiversal Guardian is a high-stakes comic book journey through the multiverse with stunning art and an unforgettable hero. Get your copy today in ebook and paperback formats. Link in the description.
Hi everybody, this is Neil Allen, the creator of Zatswan Multiversal Guardian, which you can find in the description. You could purchase it in paperback or ebook. And today I want to talk about something called doom posting, specifically as it relates to like comic books and things like that. So what is doom posting? Basically, when somebody is just saying something is bad and it's just negativity over and over and over again. And this is something that I have seen as it pertains to comic books and certain types of characters. And like, for example, you might see comments like, oh, everything is racist, everybody is racist, the fans are racist, the company's racist, the creators are racist, and pretty much just leaving it at that. And that's one thing, but to like harp on that over and over and over for like 15 years or something like that, that's like a completely other level. So I want to talk about that a bit. Now, the interesting thing is, like, I'm not here to talk about whether certain people are racist or not, because honestly, that doesn't interest me that much. And that has something to do with the overall point. I want to talk about, like, why a person would be interested in that so much. Because the thing about it, um, let's say if there are a bunch of racist fans, like, oh my God, look at all these racist fans. They're tearing up toys and they're burning comics and they're scribbling in comics and things like that. Um, I understand I don't want to sound insensitive, and I can see how that might be upsetting to somebody, but at the same time, my general view on that is, so what? Because this is the thing that you have to consider. Okay, say that's an issue for you and there are like these racist fans out there. What are you going to do about that? Seriously. Okay, you've identified a problem for you, these racist fans, but my question is then, what are you going to do about, okay, you have a problem, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to shame them? Are you going to confront them? Are you going to have a bunch of circular arguments with them? And I would ultimately say that that would probably be a waste of your time and energy. That's not really an actionable real solution to the issue of, these fans. The way that I like to see it is that I don't know whether those fans are racist or not. It's not really something that's worth my consideration. Um, I don't think about it, and one big reason why I don't think about it is because I don't see that going on. You, to some extent, you kind of have to be looking for that. You know what I mean? And if a bunch of stuff is coming up in your feed that you don't like, simply click those three little dots and just hit not. If you hit not interested enough, that stuff will stop coming up. And if it stops coming up, then it's not relevant to you anymore. Like it's like it's not even going on. So you may think that there's this all-encompassing thing that you can't escape, but you have to kind of curate what you're taking in, because some of the stuff that you may be taking in literally may not be, if it's causing you that much distress, it just isn't that good for you. If you do have a problem with the comics themselves, like the companies and things like that, and you've been complaining about, you've been having distress with them for like over a decade, I would say, yeah, you got a serious problem if it's come to that point. It's not just like, oh, this is kind of annoying. No, if it's bothering you that much for that long, you really have that's a serious issue there. So then the question is, what are you going to do about it? Um Well, you have multiple options. I choose. I've talked about this in previous videos, but I chose to take the productive route. And I'm not have if I'm not having too much fun with their comics, I will just make my own and get it out there. So I will just make my own, get it out there, and problem solved. Now, I will say this might not be the solution that will fix everybody's thing. I never present Zatswan like it's supposed to be this big catch all that's going to like appeal to everybody. That's fine, but I would recommend presenting your own solution. Or if you do find things out there that you like say Zatswan, share that. Do fan art. Recommend it to other people. Let me, as a independent creator, I can attest firsthand. Every single retweet, every single share, every single recommendation, that goes a long, long way. That's like the main way that comics like Zatswan actually, start really building up a following and a base. There's no better way to recommend books than to just recommend them yourselves, like do word of mouth advertising. So if you find something that solution, don't just that is a solution that you like. I'm not saying that you have to like everything, but if you find something that you like, get the word out about that. That's a lot more productive than just sitting around saying, everything is racist and everyone is racist and I'm not going to get anything that I like because of all these factors you can't control. I'm not going to go too deep into things like this, but there is actually a thing in psychology. It's called learned helplessness. Let me kind of explain, let me paint this scenario for you. What is that? Okay, rather than just explain it outright, I'm going to give you a bit of an illustration. Imagine like poor people, and they're constantly complaining that they're poor and their life sucks and everything is against them. You know what I mean? This is kind of, it's kind of sounding like it's reminding me of Sean James a bit. Not to get too into that, but imagine somebody like that, like things aren't going my way and they never go my way, and all they do is complain about that, and they never take action. To the thing about it is that they've just learned to be helpless. There are things that they can do to improve their situation, but when you mention that to them or when they're brought up to them, they'll these sorts of people that have learned helplessness, they just brush it off like they didn't even hear it, or they somehow convince themselves that it won't work for them or something like that. And it's not even, it's I am going to go a bit deep into the Sean James thing actually because he's such a good example. I did see a video from him about, he was talking about his struggles with anxiety and why he has it. Pretty vulnerable video. And he was talking about how he couldn't get a job. And somebody said, like a family member suggested to him, well, why don't you volunteer someplace so you can like use that as a reference? Like, I don't know, volunteer at the library so you can like use that to help you get a job. And his response to that was, as a black man, I don't need to work for free. I've like done this and I've completed this college course and I'm just not going to do, like, ego and pride got in the way. But whatever it is, something will get in the way that will convince those types of people that have learned helplessness that whatever that is, it's not going to work for them, or they're just not going to do it, or something like that. When a person who's just out to accomplish what they need to accomplish, it's like, hey, I don't really care. I'm going to take whatever steps that I need to. If it, even if it is volunteering, I'm just going to do whatever I need to get to where I need to be. And they just take a pragmatic look at it. So, that's something that's definitely food for thought. Are you going to be like one of those types of people that just sits around and complains about a situation, because there are definitely a lot of people like that out there? Or are you going, when it comes to like comics and stuff, I chose not to be like somebody like that. I just kind of pragmatically took every little step that I could to solve the issue that I was personally having, which ultimately led to this. Eventually, a bunch of little steps like lead to a result. You know, that's how you get somewhere. You don't, I would say to like get over that type of stuff, like, oh, these fans and oh, these companies and oh, these creators, because ultimately, for no other reason, the main reason, that's not going to get you anywhere. You can't control what these other people do or how they act or how you perceive them to act. The only thing you can control is yourself and what you do. If these fans are so terrible, don't watch their content or don't associate with them or where they associate with. If these companies are constantly disappointing you, stop buying your product and support something else, or put out your own product that's, you know, filling in what you're looking for. If that's not on the market, fill that space in the market, or there's an opportunity to. Because think about it. If you've been like sitting around complaining for like 15 years or something like that, or longer even, think about in all that time what you could have accomplished if you actually, you know, instead of complaining, took those steps, one step after another step after another step, until it's like eventually you will have gotten somewhere if you like stayed consistent with it. So what I will say is that don't be that person that has like learned helplessness. There are things you can do, but one thing that I will say is if you never do anything, you won't get anything. That's the reality of the situation. If you don't take those steps to improve your situation or take those steps to improve, you know, the issues that you have, you won't get anywhere. Just another 10 years will go by and you'll be in the same spot complaining about the same stuff. So that's some food for thought, I think. Feel free to leave your comments about this, like in the comments section below, about, you know, so you know, if you're not happy with the content that you're getting, what can you do? um, Feel free to pick this up at amazon.com. You could get it in paperback or ebook format in the description, and I will hopefully talk to all of you again very soon. Take care.